Boys, feel that? You hear that? That's the pump. It's coming. Feeling bullish. Welcome back, guys. So yeah, can you feel the pump? Respect the pump. Bitcoin flipped the previous resistance into support. Fear and greed index is at 71. We're getting in bullish territory now. This is where people start. When you start getting in the greed territory, that's when you might see a pullback. So just be aware of that. Let's look at the Bitcoin chart for a second on here. Just a basic chart, nothing serious, but I just want to show you guys. We did flip the previous resistance into support. It was like 101. All right. That's bullish, you know. Stock market rallied. People were taking profits from crypto because of the China deal. And going back into the stock market briefly. And it found a nice support around 101. We flipped that. We flipped the previous resistance into support, and now we've been consolidating before the next leg up. And I just want to say real quick, let's look at ETH for a second, because ETH is moving. It's up 8%. It broke 2,700 for a second earlier. When you see ETH moving, that's good for alts, you know, especially Ethereum, anything on the ERC20 network. These ETH altcoins and ETH meme coins, they're going to be performing very well when you see Ethereum breaking out. So don't be surprised if you see a lot of these ETH-based memes start breaking out. I really don't watch anything else other than Bitcoin and Ethereum because they just are good indicators of the two biggest, you know, in the space. So those basically give me an indication of what the rest of the market's doing. That's why I make these videos specifically, just to talk about the market in general. I do talk about altcoins and stuff, but I try to keep that separate. All right, here's basically what happened. We had a China deal, U.S.-China trade deal as it happened. Tariffs to be lowered for 90 days. The U.S. stocks rally. Extremely bullish. All right, here's a summary. U.S. and China agree to slash tariffs for 90 days. The U.S. tariffs on China will fall to 30% from 145%. Damn. China tariffs in the U.S. dropped to 10% from 125%. Stock surged and the dollar rallied on the news. So basically people were taking profits from gold and stuff and putting it back in the stock market. Bitcoin had a bullish retest of support, and now it's consolidating before the next leg up. Okay, so now today also we had a consumer price index report, and it came in better than expected. They were expecting 2.4 and they got hit with a 2.3. That is extremely bullish. That is great for not going into, you know, stagflation and stuff. Also, the NFIB optimism index was released this morning at 6 a.m. and that also came in better than expected, which is good. That's like jobs data. Technically, it's an indicator to measure how well small businesses are doing, the NFIB optimism index. So we got Bitcoin and Ethereum breaking out. All this bullish stuff going on. Let me just go over a few things. Bitcoin price sells off after Trump's U.S.-China tariff deal. I'm not going to go into this, just read the takeaways. This basically explains what I just said with the stocks rallying. Bitcoin lags as investors shift towards stocks after U.S. and China strike a deal that could end the current trade war. Macroeconomic conditions are swinging away from gold, investing back into stocks. So basically, it was just a brief, people were taking profits off stuff and putting it back in stocks. That's all that was. So that's actually, you know, got me feeling a little bit more bullish. They're keeping the money in the market. They're not just pulling it out. All right, get away from here. Coinbase joins the S&P 500 as Bitcoin treasury exposure goes global. What is this? I don't care about all these damn pop-ups. Come on, bro. Yo, but yeah, so sorry about that. Coinbase is now in the S&P 500. I know a lot of people, a couple guys in my Discord, they don't like Coinbase, but whatever, man. I use Coinbase, never had any issues with them. I get why people don't like them because it's so centralized and stuff, but as a whole for the space, this is generally bullish. It shows that it's getting adopted as like fucking a real asset class, and this is a benchmark for us, honestly, you know? This is a benchmark in the space. Coinbase being listed on the S&P 500, that's huge. Here's something bullish I also want to read about. It'll make you feel really bullish. And then, of course, I'm going to play a metal song. Let's slaughter the bears in a second because I'm just too excited for what's going on, boy. Bitcoin will replace the US dollar in 10 years, says billionaire VC Tim Draper. In 10 years. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Let me just read some of this real quick. Within a decade, Bitcoin will replace US dollar dominance and become the standard currency underpinning the international economy, according to billionaire venture capitalist Tim Draper. 10 years, something like that, and maybe a little less, Draper said in a wide-ranging Spotlight interview with CoinDesk. Draper reiterated that his prediction that Bitcoin will rise to 250,000 by the end of 2025, and that after a decade it will be infinity against the dollar, because there won't be a dollar. Bro, hold on a second. It's going to infinity? Oh, Lord. Slaughter the fucking bears. Off with their fucking heads. Slaughtering the fucking bears. And off with their fucking heads. So yeah, that's really got me feeling bullish. But yeah, let me just go on to some other stuff. I don't want to read or get too boring with it. Metaplanet issues 15 million in bonds to buy more Bitcoin. Everybody's buying Bitcoin now. Michael Saylor is, 21 Capital is, banks are, institutions are, countries are, states are, whales are, retail is. You know, this has got me feeling bullish. And this is a Japanese company, but anyways, I just want to keep moving on. This is something that caught my attention. 0.2 BTC will make you richer than anyone are able to believe. And this dude commented, what about 0.1 Bitcoin? Set for life. Let's fucking go, guys. I'm ready. I love Bitcoin so much, but I'm not going to lie, I'm an altcoin whore. But you got to use these altcoins, guys, to stack your BTC. BTC will always be here. That is where you store your wealth. You don't store it in dollars. There's a couple things you can store it in. It can be real estate, gold, or Bitcoin. Those three things, out of those three, if you're just storing your money and you're okay with leaving it there for 4+ years, Bitcoin is obviously the best one. You know, this is my personal opinion. Now, let's look at these interest rate things going on. So for June, we have a Fed meeting in like 36 days. Yeah, 35 days. So for June, all these probabilities have been decreasing and decreasing and decreasing, you know? I'm just sitting here like this with these rate cuts. It's very frustrating. But, now the June meeting is only 8%. If we go to July, increases a little bit, 38%. September, 74. October, 87. And December would be 95% chance. Now, here's the thing. There's so many different scenarios that could play out. Right now, the jobs and the labor market's looking strong. Inflation is coming down. And if it stays that way, when they cut interest rates, if the market isn't like weird with, layoffs and unemployment and inflation is still coming down, this could end up ending into an extended bull market until probably quarter Q1 or Q2 of next year. That's if all things go as planned, in the most bullish case scenario. Actually, most bullish case scenario, this thing runs longer than that. This could be a multi-year bull run, depending on how much institutional adoption and things like that go into place. There will be a bear market, though. Keep that in mind. It's not going to last forever. This is all basically this is all data dependent at this point. If the labor market deteriorates and inflation starts rising again, that's probably going to be a recession. They're probably going to see a short few months rally and then probably go into a recession. Now, if the labor market stays strong, inflation continues to decline, that's going to give the Fed more, probability that they're going to want to kind of cut these interest rates soon. Jay Powell has just been sitting there twiddling his thumbs. I mean, I don't know what he's doing, man, but it's looking like, probably September, October is when we're going to get those cuts, unless something else changes dramatically with these trade deals and stuff, and there's more uncertainty about that. So right now the Fed is just kind of waiting out these tariffs and seeing what happens with that. That's why these next few meetings are kind of uncertain, leaning towards the probability of no chance of ease up until really September to December. So that is just something to keep in mind. That's why it's important you watch these labor reports. Like tomorrow, or not tomorrow, but Thursday, we have initial jobless claims. That's one that comes out every week that can give you a good kind of indicator of how the labor market's doing on a weekly. It's less of a lagging indicator than the other ones, because those are monthly reports. Initial jobless claims is a weekly report. So it's something you want to be looking at. I mean, it also moves the markets. So with that being said, guys, I just wanted to make this video to tell you the probabilities and just my opinion on what's going on with this market right now. I think right now the institutional adoption and global adoption really of Bitcoin is trumping, no pun intended, with these rate cuts. Liquidity will find its way into Bitcoin, and if institutions are buying Bitcoin and Ethereum, what do you think is going to happen to altcoins? People are going to be wanting to have exposure to the space when they see these things, these assets going up in value. This is what happens. People aren't smart like us, guys. They're not going to chase red candles. They're going to be chasing after these green dildos. Just how psychologically they see something go up and they want to buy it when it's up 200%, but they will run away from it when it's down 90%. No, don't even make sense. Don't even make sense. That's why you got to take your emotions out of this stuff, and once you can do that, that's when you pretty much become a good investor. But I'm definitely not the best investor in the world. I've made a lot of mistakes, guys. I've lost a lot of money, and I'm still here, though. I've learned a lot of lessons, and that's why I made this YouTube channel, because I would like to share my knowledge and my input on what I think the market's doing based off previous experiences. So to wrap this up, guys, if you like me doing these videos of like the macro and stuff, let me know. I'm kind of trying to find out more of a groove for my channel. Maybe I should do like 1 or 2 videos like this, talking about Bitcoin and the overall macro, maybe once a week or more. Let me know what kind of content that you like from me. You want me to post videos like this? You want me to post just stick to doing altcoins, or guys, let me know. Give me some feedback. And as always, hold down the fort.